arrived. Thank you all. I hope that lunch is going well. Wanted to take a quick break to really look back and reflect over what has happened over the last 6 years with Governor Justice in office. Some of you have heard this story before, so I apologize if it's a repeat, but I think it's really important given the numbers that we heard this morning. When the governor came into office, tourism in West Virginia was pretty flat. It was declining. We were one of the only states that were not moving at the same rate as the rest of the country. And I will never forget being at the governor's inaugural address when he was coming into office. I had only met him 4 or 5 times. They were all the times he interviewed me before he ended up giving me this job. And I didn't know much about him. And he sat there from the podium and he talked about a couple of big things. And one of the biggest things he talked about was tourism in West Virginia and the potential that it had. And I had huge knots in my stomach because he kept talking about how we were going to grow $1 billion, how we were going to be on TVs across the country, and how we were going to be a top tourism destination. And to be perfectly honest, at that moment, I had no idea how we would do it. But he told me that he knew how to do it, and he would tell me how to do it, and we would get it done. And he started out that speech by saying, "Who would ever want to go to Detroit?" George, I'm very sorry. It did not make many friends in the tourism industry for me. He later asked why anyone would want to go to like Myrtle Beach or somewhere, and they were frustrated with me too. But since that time, we have seen tremendous, tremendous growth. And I will tell you that it is all because of this man right here. He knew what to do. He knew we needed to invest. He knew we needed to rebrand, and he knew we needed to invest again. We have invested so much in tourism in West Virginia in the past 6 years, it's just unbelievable. Not only have we tripled the state's budget, have we elevated tourism to a cabinet level position, have we put in almost $250 million with a B into our state parks, but all of those state dollars are returning into private investment all over the state. All you have to do is drive into this resort to see new construction, to see new things happening. Governor, we have close to 100 people. This is their first governor's conference. These are new people into the industry. We're seeing employment growing. Every single indicator we have is going up. So Governor, I can never thank you enough. On behalf of the more than 50,000 West Virginians in this industry, thank you for what you've done. And I want to turn it over to you to hear a little bit about, I think probably some I told you so's.
Well, you're really kind. We have an incredible Secretary of Tourism in Chelsea Ruby, and you need to give her an incredible round of applause. She probably can't give you every one of your wishes all the time, but I am telling you, she is stuck on and does a fabulous, fabulous job. That's all there is to it. And I can never, ever, ever thank her enough. Now, there's been times early on, you know, that I've got to tell you that we had to have a couple of come to Jesus meetings, but nevertheless, it's been so good. And with all that being said, I could never be more proud of anyone than I am of you. That's all there is to it. I mean, when it really boils right down to it, just think about it. I've got to read one thing. Just one. I'll wait till the end, okay? And then we'll go to the end, okay? But let me just go back to just this. First of all, when I walked in the door, the obvious was so much right in front of us. And the obvious was just this. You know, in one of the first debates, here's what I said. I said, close your eyes. And for you that have been here before, you've maybe heard this before. But for the 100 that are first time here, you may not have ever heard this. All of you could never hear this enough, in my opinion. But I said, close your eyes and imagine a place. Imagine a place that was within a rock's throw of 2/3 of the population of this country. Imagine a place that abounded in natural resources like crazy. Imagine a place, just imagine a place that truly had its real treasure, its people. Its people. You know, and all the craftsmen, low crime, faith-based, all the stuff that we are. And imagine a place that had 4 of the most incredible seasons on the planet. And now open your eyes and know that that place is West Virginia. Now imagine, really and truly, and we at the time were dead last in everything coming or going. We didn't need to be dead last, did we? All we needed to do was show the world what we already knew we had. And so we began to do so. Now it took a lot of convincing and a lot of sitting on people and everything else under the sun to get us to really move it. And all we did really at the end of the day was turn you loose. Turn you loose to do all the stuff that you're doing every single day. It's amazing. It is totally amazing. And you know what? And I tell every last one of you just this. At the end of the day, in my opinion, all we have gotten so far is the parsley around the edges of the plate. The meat and potatoes are still there. And literally, I didn't get this way, and she didn't get this way by eating just the parsley. Now, so the net of the whole thing is we got a whole lot of good eating right in front of us. And we don't need to screw it up. Now, with all that being said, what we did is we really, truly, and you've heard me say this a million times, any frog that's not proud of his own pond is not much of a frog. So, we became proud of our own pond, didn't we? And on top of that, who in the world, and let me use slang to say this, who could have thunk it that the place that was in competition with Mississippi every year to see who would be dead last in everything, that was us. And now, all of a sudden, travel guides from all kinds of places across the world are saying West Virginia is the place to go to. Who could have ever thunk it? I mean, this place right here is beautiful beyond belief. I have your full attention right now. And I want to tell you something that has nothing to do with this place and nothing to do with this conference. Today is 9/11. Today is the day that terrorists flew planes into our buildings and into the ground in Pennsylvania. With all that being said, can we just do this as respectfully as we can? Can we just take a moment to remember? Because the decent and last thing we should ever do is forget. So with that, I'd ask you to just bow your heads just in a moment of prayer for all those we lost, all of them. Thank you so much. You know, that was a tough time for this nation. And what came after that was years and years and years of tough times. So many people stepped up. Now, in our own way, in this state, if I could go back to you just a second, in our own way, we step up. You know, there's lots and lots of folks that are out there. The Toby and Edith's way, I call them. The Toby and Ediths that are out there that depend on you because you're the engine. And Toby and Edith depend on you in many, many, many ways. Now, I'm going to read one thing to you, and I'll say just this. Unless Chelsea has something else, I don't really care if Chelsea has something else. I'm just teasing. But unless there's something else really big, and y'all want to come up and say hi to Baby Dog, I'll sit right here with her. And as long as y'all want to come up, Baby Dog and I'll sit here. One thing about her, and I've got to say this just real quick, but all of a sudden, and for those of you who've heard it 10 times probably, if not more, but on Christmas Eve, now it'll be 4 years because she's real close to her 4th birthday. But all of a sudden, my son and daughter, Jay and Jill, just reached this 10-week-old bulldog puppy right over my shoulder. And I thought, oh my gracious, you know, because we've got 2 Boston Terriers in the house that are in the bed with us every night. And if the bulldog does what I think she's going to do, she's going to turn into what I've said over and over, a 60-pound brown watermelon. And when she turns into that, you know, there's not going to be a place in our bed to even think about getting. So she turned into a 62-pound brown watermelon, didn't you, Baby Dog? But let me tell you this, and this is the thing that I am the most in my life. You know, I really believe the definition of coincidence is an everyday occurrence in which God chooses to remain anonymous. In every way, all around us, there's miracles everywhere. For those people that don't see them, well, they're not looking. Because they're everywhere, all the time. And now, I've got a bulldog puppy, and a bulldog's not supposed to like everybody. But literally, 2 things that she was doing over and over and over. Because I didn't have any idea that I'd be hauling a bulldog with me or everywhere I went at all. But every place I went, she made people smile. And the other thing is she loved everybody. It didn't matter if you were black or white, or young or old, rich or poor, or for God forbid, a Republican or a Democrat. She didn't care. She just loves everybody. And then wham, COVID hits. And it was tough. Tough on all of y'all. And surely tough on me to read thousands and thousands and thousands of names and know what those families are going through. I never read the name, but really and truly, where the people were from, their gender, absolutely, the counties, so many different things. Now, I can tell you this, that if we all would just pause and just think just for a second, I don't think that was mine, but if we could do the 2 things that she did all the time, if we could make people smile and we loved everybody, wouldn't it be a heck of a lot better world? That's all there is to it. So the message became real simple. And then from that, everywhere I go that I can, I try to take her. Now there's places that I can't take her naturally, but on top of all that, she gets tired too. She loves to come and see you, but she loves to sleep too. And she loves to eat. So with all that, let me just read one thing to you that is really profound. Now get this. Today, I am announcing that West Virginia has officially seen her best tourism year ever. with the industry's economic impact exceeding $7 billion last year. Now get the rest of this. Now dial back in just 1 second. The number represents a 17% increase in visitor spending compared to pre-pandemic levels, far higher than the United States overall 1% post-pandemic tourism recovery. You were 17%. The U.S. was 1%. Now you can clap really bad, really high, really hard for that. You can't imagine how proud this makes me, because I knew our economies had to diversify. I knew of the things I said when you close your eyes, you know, all the different things. For God's sakes, a living, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out, come on, what's wrong with us in this state? Let's go right now. And lo and behold, whether it was roads to prosperity or tourism or whatever it was, we started to really move. And with a lot of good stuff happening. But let me just finish reading this. Visitors to West Virginia had a direct spending of $5.3 billion last year, another all-time high. Now you got to clap again. The tourism industry supports more than, God, this is unbelievable, 53,000 jobs, 1 out of every 16 people in West Virginia. And these jobs account for nearly $2 billion in annual income. Now, the only egotistical thing I would read to you is just this. Since I took office in 2017, visitor spending has grown more than 30%, or more than $1 billion every year. More than $1 billion a year. It's amazing. So, I would tell you, remember what I said about the parsley and the meat and the potatoes. There's so much more. We don't need to stop here. For God's sakes, a living, we don't even need to think about stopping here. Sure, we've done good. But do you know, in growing up, my dad, and you see, I don't have any notes. This is all just stuff coming to me as I'm talking. But believe it or not, at one time I had brown hair and was really skinny. That's really true. And I played every sport in the world, and the reason I'm hobbling along is because I wasn't fast enough to get out of the way, and I got hit a lot. A lot. But with that being said, you know, whether it was, you know, sports that didn't have contact, you know, I mean, I played football, played basketball, played all that kind of baseball and everything. But with all that, I also played tennis, of all things, believe it or not. And of all that, probably the thing that I could do the best was play golf. I won our state junior amateur a couple of times, and lo and behold, I was recruited by a bunch of different folks, and I went to the University of Tennessee. And then I transferred from there to Marshall, and the reason I transferred is because it just so happened that Kathy was going to Marshall. And so I thought it was a good move to transfer. And it probably was. With all that being said, though, my dad, and this ties back to you, sure, we've done great, haven't we? Absolutely. Isn't it unbelievable how good we've done? And it is. But think about this. Dad over and over and over said to me, son, the only shot in golf that matters is the next shot. Think about it. Son, if you stand up on the tee and you absolutely hit a shot and it goes right dead in the hole, what does that have to do with the next shot? Son, if you get up on the tee and you hit the ball and it spins dead right or dead left and goes right into the swamp, you better realize that that's gone. The only shot that matters is the next shot. Well, I'm going to tell all of you that we've done all kinds of greatness, but the only shot that matters is the next one. Absolutely, let's keep doing the next one and the next one and the next one. Now, you don't have to knock it in the hole every time, but we're going to knock it close enough to be making birdies rather than knocking it in the swamp. With all that being said, I'm going to end by telling you I love you and keep up the great work. You've made me so proud. It's unbelievable. And let's just keep going. Let's just keep tearing it up. And let's keep rubbing it in the face of those like Bette Midler and those people that thought West Virginia couldn't do it. Show them. By God, rub it in their face and love every second of it. I do. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you.